I think you're muted.
Hi Diana, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How about you? How's everyone?
Good. Thank you for coming on and being August speaker for Horizon. Um, what I need from you really quickly is what is your title again? And what are you're gonna be talking about fair housing, right?
Yes. So my title is a bilingual intake and outreach coordinator. So that's
Mhm.
intake for housing discrimination and outreach for events.
Bilingual intake and outreach coordinator. The only reason I ask that is because what I do is um I will introduce you, and then more than likely it's just gonna be we don't really get a lot of people on for this.
Mm,
We what we do is we put it on our we have a YouTube channel and we put it out there on YouTube and people watch it at their own leisure. So we really don't worry about generating an audience, but we still love your feedback and we're glad that you're doing this
yes, of
for us.
course.
So what I do is I'll introduce you, um, and then I will say what you're going to be talking about, and then you could take it away. So I guess we could wait if I in the interest of time, well, we could wait another minute and see if there's other people that are going to pop on, but I don't know. But I will I I will personally love to hear what you're going to say. So thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Of course, I understand. I also understand people don't have time, maybe in the middle of the workday to look at
Yeah.
things. And same thing happened to
Yeah,
me
so
yesterday.
that's why I've had this group for about a year now. So that's why we went over to do a YouTube channel, because that way we don't have to worry about generating a population, you know? So I mean, if people join us, that's great. But if not, we're still gonna go on with the show, you know?
Yeah, that's great.
Um, but without further ado, I guess I'll introduce you. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amanda Shirelli. I am the outreach coordinator at Motion Center for Independent Living, and I also run the Horizon Group. And for the month of August, we have Diana Zamora from New Jersey Citizen Action Fund Group. Um, and she's the bilingual intake coordinator at this organization, and she's going to be talking about fair housing and fair housing among people with disabilities. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Diana. Thank you, Diana, for joining us.
Of course. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Diana Zamora. I do the intake and I also do some outreach. You might see me at some events that have for community resources or any type of housing issues. Um, what I mainly focus on is housing discrimination. Sometimes people don't know what their rights are when they're renting. Their landlord might raise the rent by 50%, right? And you're not sure if it's a legal amount or you might not speak the language. So you could come to me, you ask me whatever questions you need regarding your rights. If I'm not well educated on that specific topic in housing, I could always find out for you and direct you to the right resources. I do work with a lot of people who have disabilities. That is a majority of the clients that call me. And they are our most vulnerable population. Again, a lot of them might not be able to move or leave their bed. A lot of them don't have any assistance besides their aid. Um, so I help a lot with the reasonable accommodations or modifications, and also other resources that they may need. Um, Amanda, would you like me to share my presentation?
Yes, I whatever you came to show us today, please share it for sure.
It says the sharing is still not shared right now. Send off.
Do you have sharing capabilities? Are you able to share your screen?
No, it says the host isn't allowing sharing for this meeting.
Let
I'll
Kiara
make you
could probably do
co-host.
that. Yeah.
You're good to go.
Okay. Mm, okay. All right, so I'm going to be doing a presentation on knowing your rights with fair housing and housing discrimination. This will be a brief overview of examples of discrimination and some resources and other departments within our organization. That's with New Jersey Citizen Action and New Jersey Citizen Action Education Fund, which is what I'm a part of. Okay, so who is New Jersey Citizen Action? New Jersey Citizen Action is a nonprofit organization that combines political campaigns, electoral campaigns, public outreach, community empowerment programs, and depending on the year, we have some social services. For example, this year we do a lot of rental assistance for anyone who fall behind on the rent due to a temporary issue like a hospital visit or pregnancy, anything that caused them to fall behind. We're able to assist with that. Some of our direct services are tax prep. So during tax season, you guys can reach out to us and we will do your tax for free. We do have our tax office is in Newark. However, we could do virtual visits if someone is far or if they can't make it. We also have financial coaching. So I believe that I tried searching for other financial coaches to see how many are offered in the area. And it looks like New Jersey Citizen Action is the only one that offers free financial coaching and budgeting advice. So if you want to save for a home, or if you want to save for a car or pay off your loans or bring your credit score up, we have someone with us that could absolutely assist you with that. First-time buyers. So my dear friend Joseph is one of the I want to say he's kind of like a counselor for the wholesale buyers. We also have our HUD certified counselors who walk you through the process. And if you need any assistance finding grants, they can help you with that. I know you guys are not in the Essex County area, but there may be some areas like Newark who are super populated that might have any first time home buyer grants. And our HUD counselors could help us find it within your area. If you are having issues with your healthcare, or if you run out, let's say you're switching employments or you're in between, we could assist you with filing an application in order to get some insurance. We also have our oil group. I know a lot of homes aren't really run on oil anymore since we have the regular gas, but with the oil group, if you have a home that's still run on oil, we can help negotiate lower prices with your distributor. And our small landlord education program. That's for anyone who is a small landlord of, I believe, 3 units or 4 units or less. We just educate you on what the rights are as a landlord and what the tenant's rights would be. So if you have any questions regarding your rights as well, maybe I might not know, or it's something outside of my specialty, we could always speak to the small landlord education program. So what is housing discrimination? Housing discrimination is anyone who is blocking someone's access to housing. So it's not just, oh, this is unfair, I deserve this, or I feel like it's kind of hard for me to attain this. Discrimination means you're being treated differently, right? It's not just that it's wrong, it's that it's treated differently. We could always help you file a complaint with your landlord, but it would not be discrimination. Not all the time. So that would be denying someone's right to buy or to rent a home, even though they can't afford it. And it could also be, most of the times it's people on disability, someone on Section 8 that might get refused because the landlord doesn't believe in Section 8 or on welfare. I have gotten cases of that where the landlord says, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. You told me you were going to pay your rent, but I didn't know it was going to be Section 8. I don't agree with Section 8. And those are political views that should not affect someone's housing, because these are all protected classes. Again, more examples of discrimination are a house. I don't know if you guys have seen it in newspapers, old-fashioned way. It'll say no kids or adults only, or it has to be a man or it has to be a woman. And these are examples of housing discrimination. Because if someone were to come apply with a 800 credit score as a man and a woman as a 800 credit score, they cannot deny you one or the other because they want a woman or they want a man. that would be considered discrimination. Refusal to make a reasonable accommodation or allow modification, again, within the correct parameters, is also considered housing discrimination. I know a lot of individuals on disability, on a physical disability, they may want to have, let's say, bars installed in their bathroom. It really depends on how they're paying the rent, if they're a Section 8 tenant or not, to know who pays for it. But regardless of who pays for it, the landlord or property manager cannot deny you the reasonable modification. They have to allow you to install it in there. Again, as the same thing with the reasonable accommodation. If someone is on the temporary, it doesn't matter if it's temporary or physical. Temporary or permanent disability. That could be, let's say, pregnancy is a temporary disability, or let's say you had a surgery on your knee and you no longer could walk, right? You can't walk without I'm sorry, I forgot the name of it. The rolling assistance bars. Those are permanent disabilities. If you're considered permanent disabled or any type of disability, they have to allow you accommodation that's within the right parameters. So let's say somebody wants access to the back entrance because the back entrance is the only access that includes a ramp. If you are in a wheelchair, or if you can't walk over steps, or if you are pregnant and you have a stroller with you, they are supposed to allow you the accommodation of giving you access to the back entrance and not just the front that doesn't have a ramp, doesn't have an accessible entrance for yourself. So they cannot deny you that. Sexual harassment is one. Refusal to sell, rent, or show available housing or steering is the same thing. Steering is, they might think that you're a white man when they speak to you on the phone, and when you arrive, you're a black man, and they all of a sudden tell you, oh, this is not available. Or instead of the listed price of $1,500, now they're telling you, oh, it's $3,200 because they see that you're a black man and they don't want you in the area. So those are examples of discrimination, the treatment of two people differently. Knowing your rights. Fair housing and housing discrimination. So fair housing is the right of all people to be free from discrimination in the rental, sale, or financing of a house. And fair housing laws protect refugees and immigrants regardless of status and people of all faiths. Which this is a very common thing that I have been receiving calls for. People are not sure if their status is enough. What used to be enough as a protection is no longer enough, and they call wanting to know if the landlord or the property manager can do something to them or try to kick them out within the weekend over nothing, over just, blaming them on something, or just because they don't want them there anymore. And that's not legal. So that would be also an infringement on the fair housing laws. Protected statuses. So we have the federal protected and the New Jersey protected statuses. These are the federal ones, which is race, sex, disability, color, since there could be different colors, skin tones within a specific race. That is religion, national origin, and family status. So that's if you have children under 18, if they tell you you can't have a family, a couple can be here, but a family cannot. That's what the example of that. Okay. So an example of discrimination on national origin would be, I'm sorry, am I going too fast? I just want to make sure that I'm going good.
No, I think you're doing fine, Diana.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm not going too fast for you. An example of discrimination on national origin would be Ramon and his wife just moved from Guatemala. They're learning the language and need an interpreter. After listening to them speaking in Spanish, the leasing officer tells the interpreter that there are no units available, despite the 4 rent signs. This would be an example of national origin by steering them away. Like I mentioned, it's not just people saying, oh, we're not renting this anymore. And they could also give you an extremely high price, they could be giving you an extremely high price because you don't speak the language. Or another example is renting the unit to you, but giving you a lease in English, knowing that you don't understand the English. And then a lot of times in the lease, it'll have the craziest asks, like $200 fees over 5 days late on the rent, or you could only pay rent on the first with no accommodations. If you break your lease, you have to pay like 3 times of the rent. These are just crazy asks that would be in there sometimes because of the discrimination of national origin. And these are actually very, very common. So leasing officer refused to show the available listing due to the couple speaking another language. That was a very clear one. Discrimination based off of color. So this is an example of someone from the same race with two different colors. Aditi wants to move where her best friend Raya lives. Both are from Indian descent, but Aditi's skin color is much darker than Raya's. So Raya called her landlord asking for an apartment for rent, and the landlord said there was one unit available for a certain amount of money per month. When Aditi showed up to the appointment to see it the next day, the landlord asked for double the amount that he had told Raya. So again, this is an example of steering. He does not want Raya in there because she is of a darker skin complexion. I'm sorry, she did not want Aditi there because she is of a darker skin complexion. So this could still be the case of discrimination based on color, even if the landlord or the property manager was also of the same race. I have seen that a lot of the cases are where it's someone of the same race or same ethnicity, where they'll try to steer someone away. For example, I do see a lot of Hispanic landlords trying to scam the other Hispanic tenants if they know that they don't speak English, or if they think that they're undocumented, or they don't have too much status. They try to scam them, or they try to kick them out right away. And this could be the case for here as well. So don't think that just because your landlord or your property manager is, let's say you're white and they're white, or you're black and they're black, or you're Hispanic and they're Hispanic, it doesn't mean that they won't be discriminating. So she was charged more when the landlord saw her skin color. Discrimination based off of disability. Annette has a service dog and is in a wheelchair. When Annette and her mom showed up to see an apartment for rent on the ground floor, the landlord says that she hopes Annette gets better soon because there are no ramps and they're too expensive to install. Okay. So this one, we do get a lot of these when it comes to individuals with disabilities. This could be in an apartment building. This could be in an apartment complex where everybody might be on the same floor and it's just a really long building. But this conversation, this paragraph here, kind of pushes the thought that the landlord will not install anything, that they're too expensive and then they can't install it. But that is illegal. That would mean that he is going to deny a future reasonable modification request if it is that Annette is not asking for one at the moment.
And not to interrupt you during your presentation, but
Mhm.
I have a physical disability and I use a power chair to get around. So I know you've said you've worked with people with disabilities with getting housing. But there are a lot of places out there that don't have ramps or anything like that. So how do you guys deal with an issue when it comes to something like that? Or do you try to fight for the person or do you find them a different place? Like, how does that all work?
So the Fair Housing Department, we don't have any housing navigators to find you a place.
Okay.
What we do is we more so assist you in drafting. See, we're not supposed to reach out directly to the landlord, but a lot of times, let's say someone is on a disability, or let's say they're older and they can't really maneuver a computer, we'll do it for them on their behalf. It's just that it's a little riskier in case a landlord or property manager says that it's us, right? It's us demanding these things and not the tenant demanding these things. That's a little bit of the issue. So I like to make sure that I get the person on the phone and at least one interaction on an email saying that they also agree to this. But what we do is there is a lot. Each city and each town and each borough has their own. They have well, some of them do and some of them don't have rent control ordinances, some don't. I know for the state of New Jersey, I believe it's after 1991. Any building made after 1991 has to have an accessible entrance. I don't know if you guys have seen where it'll be, how do I explain it? Let's say it used to be an old factory, an old abandoned factory for 50 years, and all of a sudden somebody bought it out and they remodeled it, and now it's a luxury apartment building, right? So those, it's hard. You can't. I don't think you can get around those because those buildings are technically made before 1991.
Like they're grandfathered in, yes, yeah.
Yeah, they're
I,
built before 1991. It's just that it looks prettier now because they changed the view of it.
an example for me, I used to live in a town that had an old diner in it, and they didn't have to make it had stairs to get in there, and they didn't have to make it accessible because it was grandfathered into the clause of before the ADA. They didn't really have to put in money to do that. But as you know, any new establishment has to be ADA
Yeah.
compliant. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Um, and also for I I believe it's a little tricky still when it comes to individuals on Section 8 or on a housing voucher. I know the housing authority a lot of time fronts the money to do the physical change to the building, especially when it is a Section 8 project building. I don't know if you've seen those where it has like 60 units and the individuals don't come with the Section 8 voucher, but the building does,
Yeah,
right?
I have seen those. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
those, if they don't have an accessible entrance, it doesn't matter if they're old or new, the property pays for it, right? Because the property is Section 8. They're owned by Section 8. So the property has to pay for any modifications that you need. So if you need a ramp in the lobby or if you need a ramp in the front, you can do that. Now, I have run into an issue. Again, this was an older building, so it didn't need to do it at the same time. They're again, like you mentioned, they're grandfathered in, but I know it's a bit trickier with buildings who the entrance is part, it covers most of the sidewalk. I don't know if I know how to explain it. Let's say I'm gonna use my phone for example. If the if this is the entire sidewalk and the stairs start like right here, it's a little tricky to build it, but I think they wouldn't have allowed them to build it anyway. Um, but you can absolutely ask for a modification, especially if it's in a shared living space, which would have been a lobby, right? A lobby. If you need bars in your apartment, you could also request for that as well. I just think you may have to pay for if you're not Section 8, I believe you pay for the modifications in your unit. Um, and for maybe the entrance to your apartment, if you need a ramp and it might be up a little bit, they have the temporary ramps. Um, but we could always reach out to the ADA to find out more per town or borough or city. Along with what I also do is if it's something out of my control, again, I'm more so an intake and caseworker. If it's out of my control, we could reach out to an attorney. We can refer you to South Jersey Legal Services, to North Jersey Legal Services, and also file a complaint with HUD since they're the ones who oversee the housing discrimination and fraud and any issues regarding housing. And they usually respond pretty fast. Everyone who I've filed a complaint for them they've gotten a call back maybe that afternoon or that week from HUD.
That's good to know that.
Mhm. Yeah, they've been really on it. It was actually very surprising when I first saw that because I thought a lot of the government agencies, they I've heard that they've taken months sometimes to get back to people, but HUD is pretty on it.
Oh, in this organization, we help people with disabilities and elderly, and housing has become such a big issue because there's really nothing, I mean, there's really nothing out there for people. I mean, a lot of it's waiting list and, you know, housing is one of those major issues that we still have a lot of roadblocks to that.
Yeah, I do receive a lot of calls from seniors and individuals on disability, on a physical disability, who are calling asking for, hey, I just received, since a lot of individuals have been homeless, especially right after the pandemic or during the pandemic, I have received a lot of calls saying, hi, I finally got my voucher. Could you help me find a unit? And I don't help individuals find a unit since I'm not a housing navigator. And we used to send them over to supportive housing, but the support, I think it's called Supportive Housing Association. But it looks like I've tried calling everybody on there, and it looks like either they swapped all those individuals out that used to work as the navigators, and they just never updated it, or they just don't have it anymore. Weekly, I still try to find different navigators to assist individuals, or even I send them links to applications sometimes just to help them out because I know it's very limited. I do get it, especially the senior housing right now is very, very limited and expensive. Yeah, see, the landlord is unwilling to install a ramp. Again, I do try to do my best in finding everybody the resources that they need. That includes maybe calling other organizations, building partnerships with other organizations, or even doing, like when I do outreach, right? If I do a presentation with a organization, a social service that deals with individuals on disabilities or seniors, I do learn and get resources from them. Sometimes they know more resources than me, depending on what it is, or more resources than others, since they deal exactly with individual one by one or one-on-one with individuals who need the care. One of the okay, back to the Fair Housing Act. I think the main thing with the Fair Housing Act that does get stuck between all the loopholes are what it covers. I would still file a complaint with with HUD or DCR, right? The Division of Civil Rights. I do tend to send them there sometimes, but if you're not sure who to send someone to or who to file the complaint with, you could send them to HUD. And if it's not under HUD's jurisdiction, HUD will send the exact same information over to the Division of Civil Rights. And they will file it with the Division of Civil Rights so that you don't have to keep applying to many different places. Or let's say you have to go to somebody else, like the Business Bureau, and they send it over to them. If they think it's not for them, but it's a different federal agency, then they'll assist you and they'll send it over to them. But again, the Fair Housing Act covers most housings except for owner-occupied homes with no more than 4 units. So any 4 units or less, single-family housing sold or rented without the use of a broker, and certain housing operated by organizations and private clubs that limit occupancy to members. So this could be possibly like a club or like a rehab facility that'll limit certain things, but it cannot limit everything, especially with rehab facilities. I see that they a lot of times fight back on reasonable accommodations. But you still have rights when it comes to that. That's the one that I don't like excluding people on or turning them away for. So it covers apartments, houses, condos, co-ops, mobile homes, rooming houses, homeowner associations, construction sites, and transitional housing. So mobile homes. Now that I mentioned mobile homes here because I believe it's Bergantine in South Jersey, right off the edge by the beach. They have a specific ordinance specifically for mobile homes, but they don't have it for regular apartments or different regular units. So that's something to know. And New Jersey law against discrimination. So the New Jersey law against discrimination is one of the most broad, or they have more protections versus other states, right? So I believe it's them. PA has a little bit more than them, I think, if not the same. And California and New York. Those are the main ones that have the most protections under their law of discrimination. So in addition to just race, color, disability, familial status, national origin, religion, and sex, they also cover ancestry, domestic partnership or civil union status, since I know a lot of individuals that might be together for 20 years, have children, be a family, but they may not be married. Marital status, military service, source of lawful income. Again, that is Section 8, or a housing voucher, any sort of housing voucher, and sexual orientation. Right now with a lot of cuts in the administration, I'm not sure if they actually made it to cut off gender identity, but I think they were in the talks of removing it. But the rest are protected classes. If you need any assistance with any of this, I can provide you with my phone number or my email at the end. And the New Jersey Fair Chance and Housing Act. So in June 2021, Governor Phil Murphy signed into the law the Fair Chance and Housing Act, which is designed to ensure that anyone who has been court involved is able to secure a safe, decent, and affordable place to live. The act prohibits landlords from rejecting prospective tenants because of their criminal history, except in certain limited circumstances. So that would be a conviction for the manufacture or production of methamphetamines on the premises of federally assisted housing, right? So that would be like a Section 8 building. Or a conviction that requires the applicant to register as a sex offender for life. So this could be maybe they don't want to put them in a specific building because, or let's say a room. Let's say it's a room and there's two other rooms within that unit. If there's a family in one of the units, they could accept they could deny them. They could deny them based off of that. That's another. Some state resources and any contact information is the Department of Community Affairs. You may go there for any housing assistance programs. They have all the resources available. It's very similar to calling 211. You could also reach out to a screening tool, an ADA, and the DCA. You could also go to them to file any disputes with Section 8. If you have a dispute with the Section 8 worker while you're at the housing authority, you can go over to the DCA. New Jersey Division of Civil Rights. I think that is my favorite resource to send out because they're very, very thorough. They can ask who your attorney is. They can ask if you have any witnesses, any photographs, videos, anything that's going on. It's my favorite thing to reach out to. The Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey, and is a hotline for renters, landlords, and homeowners. So you might want to take this number down. And free legal assistance for renters facing eviction. So for individuals with disabilities, I would say the best one is Community Health Law Project. They are very, very kind and they work with everyone one. The receptionist is a very sweet woman. You can call them, I believe, before 4 and they pick up right away. If not, they call you back. Always leave a voicemail. All the other services are also for individuals with disabilities, but Community Health Law Project is very specific for individuals with disabilities. So that would be if you're elderly and you can file under SSI, or if you're on a disability. If you live in the Hudson area, so that's Hudson, Bergen, Union, you can go to the Waterfront Project. They're great. They're very well known in the northern part of New Jersey, if you know anyone from up here. And Legal Services of New Jersey. It might be a wait time when you speak to them, but they're also great. I always suggest all of these services for everyone. We also have North Jersey Legal Services and South Jersey Legal Services. If you would like any more services, you could also reach out to me. And I believe my resources are, this is also HUD's information. My information is right here. It's the second bullet, report housing discrimination. So 908-546-0664 is my phone number. And FH, which is for housing intake at njcitizanaction.org, is our broad. A couple of us have access to that. So if you are interested in being a housing tester, you could also reach out to that same email. It's kind of like a secret shopper. but for apartments. So we'd give you a prompt, you'd go over to a rental unit and you'd interview as if you're interviewing for any other rental unit, for the first time. Uh, and then you just report back to us on the information that you found and you get paid maybe like $80. I believe we are working towards moving that up a bit this year. But if you need any of the other information for the other services, they are on this PowerPoint.
Well, thank you so much, Diana, for educating us on housing. And I never really realized how much New Jersey Citizen Action Fund Group actually, how much you guys actually do. So that's very
Yeah,
commendable. You know,
yeah.
I'm a it, for the IL department, I do a lot of housing calls, so I know what you guys are dealing with. And there's a lot of times where people are like, we're homeless, we need some kind of we need support here. Where can you send us? So this was very informative for me, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
I know you said I have a question before we end today. I know you said you deal with people with disabilities. Have you ever dealt with a situation with a housing situation, whether it was apartment, something like that, where they weren't willing to make the house accessible? And did you have to get lawyers involved or fight in any kind of way or
Yes. So the first thing I do when they start denying, right? If you request an accommodation or modification and they deny or they don't respond, right? Since that is also part of I believe it's a DOJ statement with HUD, um, a no response is a denial. So that's very important to take note of. If anyone that's watching right now, if they have requested an accommodation or modification from their landlord or property manager, that's either verbal or written, it's very important that you try to do written as much as possible because that's an actual proof of them denying. That is considered, well, if they don't respond or they deny it, regardless, that is a denial. So whenever I request a accommodation or modification for someone, and I send it out, I always make sure to say at the bottom, please respond within 7 to 10 days, or I always pick one, either 7 or 10 days, whatever one it is. Um, if they do not respond within those days, I send them a follow up. No response, okay, that is a denial, and then we get lawyers involved, right? So I would send them over to one of those resources, the legal services, and we send all the information to the attorneys. I do advise the individuals that we could either go to the attorneys and let the attorneys handle it completely, since they are very well aware of what the laws are and how to enforce, or we could send over, or we could do both. We'd send up a complaint to HUD and DCR. If it's a very clear case of discrimination, I usually go straight to DCR. For example, I had someone, their landlord did not want to take their what is it called? The rental assistance. They were out of work for a couple months and they received rental assistance from an organization, and the landlord was not accepting it. And he just so happened to have a video in the background. He was recording himself for something completely irrelevant when the landlord knocked on his door and told him she needs him to get out because she's not accepting his welfare checks of rental assistance. That she doesn't believe what rental assistance is real. She doesn't understand this country. She was just being very, very, making all these statements that are wrong. So that right there, he already had an attorney from the city of Newark to assist him. I would have suggested somebody else. Not that there's anything wrong with the city of Newark, but somebody else that's more, I want to say,
well versed in that, I guess?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
although it was an attorney with Newark that has to do with rental disputes, rental or landlord tenant disputes, I would probably have gone to someone else like North Jersey Legal Services or Essex County Legal Services, which is different. Um,
That's
because
the
they're
hard
probably
part too,
more.
is I've noticed in our field, a lot of people don't know where to turn.
Yeah,
They don't know where to go when it comes to situations like this. And so getting connected with you guys and getting to know you guys, this is really good information for sure.
yeah. Um, Yeah, for that case, I just went straight to DCR and I helped them file a complaint with DCR. I could have also went to HUD, but I thought it was just a clear straight through, right? The Division of Civil Rights for discrimination. He has the video. I heard he has the audio, and I heard it. It was a 5 minute audio of her just ranting about it. So it was very, very clear. Um, but I understand that it is hard to find the resources. Even when I was younger, my parents didn't know where the resources were, right? I wouldn't have known. They didn't speak the language, so who's gonna know, right? So I understand that people have very similar struggles, and it's always easy to give us a call and find out whether it's. I always tell people, even if it's not housing related, you could give me a call, and I could probably send you to one of our departments, and they would know since New Jersey Citizen Action has been around since the 70s, I think. And a lot of the people who are working and as a director in those departments have been here since we started in the 70s. So they're very well versed in everything that has to do with everything.
Well, Diana, on behalf of Motion Center for Independent Living, we thank you for giving this presentation today. Like
Right.
I said, it's going to be on our YouTube channel, so as soon as our marketing person puts it up there, Lisa, I will send it. I'll make sure I send you the link for it, so that
Okay.
you can view it and send it to people that you know as well. Um, and we hope to continue this relationship with you guys for sure.
Of course,
So
this was great. Thank you for having me.
anytime. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye bye.